Best friend. A best friend isn't just a name. A best friend is someone who is there for you, no matter what. You can trust them with anything and everything. Best friends share tears and laughs, almost like their emotions are intertwined. But most importantly, you can always count on a best friend. We have 3 types of best friends: friends for a reason, friends for a season, and friends for a long time. Oprah Winfrey stated it best when she said, "Lots of people want to ride with you in a limo, but you want someone who will take the bus with you when the limo breaks down." Friendship is not about people who act true to your face. It's about people who remain true behind your back. My name is Angel, and I'm the host of Have Faith, Let It Begin. This episode is dedicated to my best friend, Brian.
Don't you see that your faith is coming alive? Don't you see that it's tested every time? He's the one that makes your life divine. He's the one that makes you feel fine. Your faith's being tested.
Have faith, let it begin. Hello everyone, my name is Angel, and welcome to another episode of Have Faith, Let It Begin. Today, I'm going to tack on a different type of topic. I want to talk to you today about a certain individual that you have heard on this show multiple times. And since we're closing in on almost 80 episodes, I think it's only fitting that we talk about the history of myself and my good friend Brian. This is a story that goes back almost 20 years. Now, some of you may say to yourself, well, this topic is really not going to be about me. It kind of is, because even though it's about a story of myself and my friend Brian, it's relatable, especially if you have a best friend that you've had for a very long time, and an argument or an incident occurs and you lose track and you lose the friendship. So let's begin. I met Brian when I was 15 years old. We had something in common. We liked professional wrestling. We enjoyed each other's company. Brian was a little older than I was, so he was friends actually with my older brother and another mutual friend that we used to hang out with. So on occasion, there would be nights where he'd go out with his other friends because, they were old enough to go clubbing and go to the bar scene, and I was still young enough that I, was able to stay home. Brian became my older brother. He was able to relate with me in ways that my actual 2 blood brothers couldn't relate to. Don't get me wrong, I got along with my brothers. I love my brothers very much. But there was just something about Brian that was easier to share certain things that I couldn't share with my brothers. I would share with him how I didn't feel comfortable the way I looked. I shared with Brian things about how to be more informative, I would say, more relative in my daily activities with other people. Brian always found time to explain to me what to do and what to do it. Oh, wait, let me rephrase that. He always explained to me how to always be an up and standing young man. He always told me that it was important that I respected my elders, that I respected my parents, and that I respected my teachers. Again, these are things I already knew. My parents raised me well. I was never a bad student. I was never a person that was involved in negative things. But on occasion, I would find myself in situations where I was not an alpha. I was not a leader at one point. And Brian would be able to see that there were times where I would be invited to certain events that he didn't feel I should be a part of. And when I would stay back and hang out with him, those individuals that went out and do things, they would get caught and get in trouble. So Brian has saved me in a lot of ways from doing and making the wrong decisions. Over time, as I got older, Brian would be there for every single birthday. He would be there for my homecomings prior. He would be supportive of my senior proms, and he would be supportive in being a good, voice of charisma and character when I graduated high school. When I went to college, my mother and father were going through some rough times, and we didn't have a certain amount of money. My financial aid was not doing very well. My grades had slipped. I was in and out of a relationship that ultimately became very toxic. And Brian was not a person that, at the time, made very good money. He made a decent living, but he was like some of us today. He's, I don't want to say paycheck to paycheck, but he was making a living. When he found out that I was not able to go to college one semester, Brian handed me money, and he told me to go to college. He told me to take at least one class and not to give up. He told me that if he could not go to college, that I would go for the both of us. Brian has always been a huge impact in my life. He is a good friend and a good brother. Over time, I met my girlfriend, became my wife eventually, but I dated Rachel, as all you know, that's my wife. I was able to introduce them. It was a very important part for me that Brian knew her, and I introduced him to Rachel's brother, and we all hung out, and it was a good time. A lot of good times, a lot of good memories. Unfortunately, an incident occurred where Brian had a falling out with Rachel's brother, and it put a stranglehold on all of us. Eventually, those wounds healed, and we started hanging out again. When we started to hang out again, Brian got involved with a young lady in a new relationship, and it became really toxic. Extremely toxic, to the point where Brian and I started to argue and fight. And it wasn't that there was no time to hang out as buddies. It was that the young lady was just not... I don't edit, and I don't want to... I don't try to stray from the obvious, but let's just say that she was doing things that could cause anybody to go to jail. She was, heavily involved in certain things, and that put me at the crossroads, because I don't do those things, and neither does Brian. But he got sucked in, and we found ourselves arguing a lot, arguing to the point where we had a huge explosion, and the friendship completely just died out. And for 2 to 3 years, we didn't speak. During the course of the 2 years, Brian's mom, who we all know and pray for, Barbara, was in and out of the hospital. And I was always very well respected by that family. So I made sure that I paid my respects to visit her in the hospital. And that's when Brian and I would cross paths. And out of respect for his mom, I respected him. What is the point of this episode so far? Let me take a pause. In life, we're going to have friends come into our lives. Some great friends. Some friends that are worth fighting for. There are friends out there that, despite some of their flaws or some of their things that they do to tick us off, being stubborn, not listening, there's a time in life when you have to take a stand and say, is this friend worth fighting for? Is this friendship worth fighting for? At one point, after 3 years, Brian had hit rock bottom. And I was there to pick him up. This individual will do anything and everything for anyone. Yeah, he's stubborn. Yeah, he can be a pain in the neck. He's got a heart of gold. His work ethic is impeccable. His heart and his love for his family is undescribable. And the hardest thing I deal with each and every day is that he does not get along with my wife. He tries, but my wife has moved on and doesn't want much to deal with him. And now I'm coming into a very critical part of my life where my baby girl is going to be born, and I want my other brother there. I want him to be a part of that. You know, I don't preach to any of you out there. I never try to tell you to follow God. I just tell you what I do, and I tell you that if you do, God will show you. I'm happy to tell you that Brian has begun to pray. His mom has gotten better. And it is with prayer and that I hope that my friendship with him continues to grow, and that him and my wife began a new relationship. The Bible will tell you this: love thy enemy, or love thy neighbor, I should say, as you love yourself. Forgiveness is important. So I guess what I'm trying to get at with this entire episode is, friends may do certain things. Friends may put you in a position where they make you question their loyalty. But your heart will always keep you on the right path. I'm happy that I can tell you that my friend Brian and I have rekindled our friendship. We are brothers. Maybe not by blood, but definitely brothers. One day he will be on this show, and we will share certain things that had happened throughout that 3 years. And he's got a story that I think is extremely powerful and relatable on how someone can be on top, go to the bottom, and then find their way back up the mountain. So I guess I can tell you all this. This episode is a preview of what's to come when Brian eventually comes on and we sit down with him. So I dedicate this show to Brian for overcoming so many obstacles, for being kicked off the mountain, scratching, clawing your way back to the top. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. Keep your faith, my friend, because you're just about to reach the mountaintop. And to every one of you that listened to this episode today, if you have a friend that you can call your sister, your brother, if you have somebody that is so close to you that you've lost track with, and you feel that you can rekindle that friendship, because it was something that you can forgive and forget, make the phone call. Rekindle the friendship, because friendships are hard to come by. But when you have them in your life, when you're able to relate with them and share with them the joys, the sorrows, the obstacles, the storms, it makes things a lot easier. In conclusion, best friends are people who make your problems their problems, just so that you don't have to go through them alone. For Have Faith, Let It Begin, my name is Angel.
Don't you see that your faith is coming